I think really for me, the changing of the times with the style of music, I think that's kind of been my biggest challenge because even as a writer and even as a performer, you always want to remain current. And I think like over the years, I just sort of got into a semi slump where a lot of the stuff I heard, I just wasn't really inspired by because I just didn't feel like real good music that just kind of moves you. It was either all focused on the beat and not the lyrics, or the lyrics weren't all that inspiring or just felt depressing. So I really had to kind of fight over the years to kind of make sure that if I'm writing stuff and presenting stuff, that it even if it has like an old school flavor, it still sounds somewhat current enough where like the younger generation can enjoy it as well as like the current and the older generation, because for me, it's important where I kind of write stuff that kind of has more of a universal appeal for the most part. I'm not one of those artists that like, well, oh, I'm writing and I'm writing from my heart and I'm writing from my soul. And if you don't like it, I never wanted to be that guy, So, because I always feel like music is something that should be shared and people should be able to appreciate it and pull from it as much as possible. So, when I'm kind of writing, I can always kind of keep that in the back of my mind. Like, is there like maybe a universal message or a theme I can share that might, you know, catch people's ears or maybe capture their heartstrings?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creativity Worth Expressing. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today we have a musician and a songwriter who is coming to share all about his creative journey in the music world and the inspiration he brings not only to people's ears, but also to people's souls. Please welcome to the podcast, Kenneith Perrin. Kenneith, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Thank you. I appreciate your having me today. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you on the podcast because I see that with your music and just with your vibe, you really are inspiring a large number of people. So, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Uh,
But
so, before we even really get started, can you share with us a bit about your music and the genre?
yeah, so I think my music is best classified as inspirational pop R&B. So inspirational in the sense of like the lyrics. Um, some lyrics are like Christian based, and others are just like positive based. But overall, they're about experiences, sometimes about my own, sometimes about other people's. And most of the songs are about, encouragement, upliftment, things of that nature. And then, of course, the styles are more pop and R&B, and I kind of say more kind of the old school R&B because that's just sort of like what I grew up with. So that's what I'm pretty much more influenced by for the most part. So yeah.
Oh,
Motown, old school, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
okay. So for my first actual question for the interview, I always start by asking each guest, what sparked your interest into falling in love with music to begin with?
I basically grew up in a musical family. My father is a bass player and a guitar player, and my mother is a piano player. She plays piano by ear. And so I always just kind of grew up with music around the house, watching television, American Bandstand, Soul Train, all those great 70s, 80s shows where they just showcase a lot of music artists of the day. And they also had people either talking about music or dancing to music. And so just a combination of all those things together just sort of inspired my love for music. Me personally, I started singing at the age of 6 publicly at my dad's church in South Carolina. And actually, I take that back. I started playing drums. Drums was like my favorite instrument first. And then eventually I switched over to vocals because it was a little bit easier just to be more of, out front singing rather than trying to play drums and sing at the same time. So,
Wow, so
yeah.
already at a young age, you were getting into playing the drums,
Yeah.
singing. Do you remember at a young age having a bit of stage fright, or were you just like, let's go?
You know, the only time I had stage fright was the very, very first time I actually performed in public. It was at my dad's church, and it was a little tiny thing. And I was on program and I told my mom because she was with me at the time. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like singing now. She's like, you gotta sing, you gotta sing. They're waiting for you, gotta sing. And she's like, I'll get you a Happy Meal if you sing. So, at the time I love McDonald's. I still do. I'm a big McDonald's fan. And he's like, okay, well, look, if you sing, I'll get you a Happy Meal. So I went ahead, went up front, but it was a little bit nerve wracking because, starting the song and singing it. And then afterwards, I got like, well, during the song, people started to get excited and started shouting and stuff. And it kind of scared me a little bit as a kid, hallelujah. Like, oh, so, but after the song was finished, it was almost like a rite of passage. And I'm like, got through that, thank you, Lord. And then it was easy peasy from there on out. Stage felt like a second home. So yeah. So
Okay,
yeah.
so that was the beginning of
Yeah.
your creative musical journey.
Yeah.
But when did you start developing the writing skills? Because I know that you're also a songwriter.
Yeah. No, great question. Thank you. So growing up, basically, I did like a lot of cover songs, singing for weddings, pageants, banquets, things of that nature. But I really didn't take songwriting seriously until I got into college. I think at the time there were like the emergence of like a lot of singer songwriters like in the 90s 2000s that were really great vocalists, but they were also writing their own songs. And so like that kind of inspired me to kind of do the same thing. And I realized that I kind of a real natural knack for it, a real talent for it, in the sense of it just kind of came very, very quickly to me. Um, and songs are interesting because they all kind of have their own personality. Sometimes I'm a beat guy. I love good, strong beats. So if I get an idea, I'll usually have a beat and maybe like a hook with it. And then other times it's just the start of a chorus, maybe that kind of gets me going, a chorus with the beat. But overall, it usually doesn't take me very long to kind of finish a song, to start it. I love collaborating with people, so that's fun too. On a different tip, but overall, the whole process of songwriting is a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Uh,
So,
Before you even sit down to start the actual songwriting process,
yeah.
do you have like a routine or is there a place that you go to find inspiration?
It's really weird. I don't really look for it. Like some people, they'll be like, okay, on Friday, March 2nd, I'm gonna, or Monday, March 2nd, I'm just gonna sit down, block off an hour time and write. But for me, if I try to do it that way, it feels kind of stifled and it feels fake. So for me, basically the best time is just when I'm not even thinking about it. Like, I could be at my folks' place mowing the lawn and I get an idea, or I could be in the shower, just kind of hanging out and a tuna hit, or, driving. So it's kind of interesting how inspiration just kind of strikes. I mean, I could be thinking about something and all of a sudden, boom, oh man, that's a good song, So and then what I'll try to do is if I have my phone nearby, I will record like the melody on my phone or record the ideas on my phone and then go back and get to the keyboard, try to pluck out the chords a little bit, or try to use like a drum machine to kind of fit what I'm kind of hearing in my head. So I'm trying to get a little bit more well versed into the production side of things. That's something I kind of sort of stayed away from for the longest because it just felt like it was just so time consuming. But now I realize that sometimes that's your best bet, especially when you have some ideas and you just want to put something down that's really solid. But it's like 2 in the morning and you can't call the recording studio because they're sleeping, or they're way over in New York somewhere. So yeah.
So, what do you enjoy more? Is it the songwriting, or is it when you're making time to find the melody and the music in the background?
I think, okay, out of those two, I probably would say it's the actual songwriting itself, because that's kind of more the free form. I'm not influenced by, you know, the chords on the piano or what I hear. It's just all in my head, and it's perfect and it's pure and it's free. The other part of that, actually putting the music together, sometimes that can be a little bit annoying because you hear something, but then you're trying to figure out what it is that you're hearing, and it takes a while to kind of get to the point where you're actually able to duplicate what you hear in your head. So that can take more than a minute. Sometimes that can be kind of frustrating because you don't get it right off the bat. You're like, it sounds like that, but I'm not hearing that, or I thought I heard this, but that's not quite it. And so I have to kind of watch myself because if I get too frustrated, I may settle, be like, well, I guess that's good enough. So I have to watch myself, be like, no, if you hear it, just give a little bit of time, wait, go back to it later, see if you can figure it out, or maybe ask someone, maybe what kind of sound that might be, or maybe what kind of sound effect that's called if I don't know what it is right off the bat. So yeah.
And I know you have a lot of inspirational songs. You were
Yeah.
mentioning earlier that they're, and I think from your bio or in your website, I saw something about like music for the soul, or
Yeah.
yeah. So, is there a song that you can share with us? Not sing, but share maybe the lyrics with us.
Uh, yeah, sure. So one of my favorite songs is off my debut album entitled "It Took So Long," and it's called "Go On." And I think the verse opens up with, "I'm struggling to hold my head up high. Gone are those days. I wish that I could fly. And it seems my world is slowly caving in, and it seems like I don't even have one single friend." So I feel like that was really, really kind of one of my more vulnerable songs because it's not about anybody else. It's about me. And I was just kind of having a really bad day that day. But I think it was just a combination of things. Sometimes you can have stuff happen to you and all of a sudden just kind of builds up and then it kind of explodes. So it was sort of like trying to put all of those feelings of different events that have been happening. I think I just moved to um, Tennessee to Ohio, starting a new job and didn't know anybody, new place, new surroundings. The job was pretty stressful. I was trying to kind of immerse myself into the music community, but that was kind of tough too. And it just kind of felt like I was a lone ranger. I mean, I didn't have any family in the town, didn't have any family in the city. So when it's like that, you really feel like you have to kind of, you're kind of struggling, kind of bending for yourself. And so it just kind of felt like I just felt trapped. I didn't have anywhere to go. And for me personally, I try to be as independent as I possibly can, but sometimes that can be a good thing, and sometimes that can be a negative thing because you never want to get to the point where you feel like you're so independent where you can't feel like you don't have to reach out for help, or you don't have to find solace in things. You can be like, yeah, I'm a man, I'm a handle, I'm a
Yeah.
man. And yeah, that's machismo, macho. It's good sometimes, but then other times you have to just kind of like let go and realize, hey, things are not great here. I need to do something. I need to talk with somebody. Um, and even if you are a praying person, or a Christian faith or just faith, period, sometimes even you feel like your prayers not being heard, or you feel like God is distant, or you just feel like you're not being recognized, you're not being seen, you're not being validated. So it can be tough, it can be tough. So, but I felt like the song kind of captured that feeling of all those emotions all at once. And so the chorus is, I will go on. So it does have a happy ending. I will go on, I will make it. Um, but it just may take me a minute to kind of get there. So hope is never gone, but I will go on. So yeah.
Would you say
Yeah.
that your songs are in itself a prayer, or some songs, or maybe all of your songs?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And it took me a while to kind of get to that point because I guess sometimes I kind of struggle a little bit with classifying my music. So because I call it inspirational just based on what other people have told me. Because a lot of songs you may not necessarily hear them like in a church setting or like in a during a Sunday service, but they're songs that affect people's lives in a different way. So, they may be going through a hard time, but they may not be able to express it in terms of traditional religious terms, but they feel what I'm singing, they get it, they can resonate with it. And so, yeah, sometimes they feel like prayers to people. They feel like prayers to me. Um, so I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, and it's kind of hard for me because I'm so used to sort of, you know, like the rest of the world, categorizing things. It's just a lot easier. Like, well, you can put your stamp on it and you can market it, you can push it here, push it there. But sometimes songs are a little bit more elusive in that way, where they have their own personality, and just they're kind of composed of different things, and so you just kind of take what elements seem like kind of resonate with you more at the time. So yeah, and it wasn't purposely done that way. It just kind of happened with the recordings and with the writings and stuff. So yeah.
So a while back, you were mentioning about your debut album, and of course,
Yeah.
you shared that awesome song with us.
Thank you.
But I wanted to go even further back.
Yeah.
What inspired you to assemble music in the first place? I know before, like you grew up with creativity in your family, but what inspired you to go ahead and make an album?
Well, I just felt like, I love performing. That's like my first and foremost thing. I love to entertain. I love performing. But I felt like at some point there were songs that I wanted to do, but I just couldn't find like the right cover songs to convey the emotions or to say something different that I wanted to say. Because even when you're doing cover songs, not every song is good for you as a vocalist. You may like it, you may love it, but then when you start trying to do it, you just realize, I'm not going to touch that, or it doesn't feel right. Like, Papa Roach versus Mariah Carey, or like great songs, but it's just not me. So um, every blue moon, excuse me, you do become fortunate where you can take a cover song and make it your own. But even at that, I just felt like I was getting to the point where I was experiencing a lot and I wanted to write things down and kind of tell my own story about things. And so that kind of drove me to create like an album of originals. And I had done an original song a couple of years back. I recorded it as a single, but I never really pushed it per se. And I kind of said, you know what? I felt like I kind of had something good there. It may not have been the best, but it gave me hope to kind of push forward to see what else I could do with whatever creative gifts I had as far as like songwriting. So that's what kind of propelled me to do the original album, and then just kind of went crazy after that. Just started doing more like all original stuff really from there. So
So
yeah.
did you release your album first, like online, or were you performing live your music live first? Like which one came first?
No, I think I probably performed it live maybe a month or two first, because at the time, it was when the internet was getting really big, and music companies like CD Baby, I think they were out, but I really didn't have anybody to kind of guide me as to how to put your music online.
Mm.
So like, I had to kind of learn self-taught, like step by step, how to submit, how to make an MP3, how to label your MP3, um, how to meta tag, all that stuff. I had kind of learn on my own. So that process took a minute. But once it was up there, I'm like, okay, well, I kind of learned how to do the first one. So anything else after that came a lot easier. So yeah.
How did it feel when you performed your original music? Because I know you've sang to covers, but
Yeah.
now you're doing your original stuff. How did that feel?
It's a great feeling. It makes me feel, well, it made me, at the time, it made me feel like I was like a real artist, like, yeah, singer songwriter, yeah, doing my own things. And so it was a great feeling because I felt like I had reached a point in my career that was something I achieved, something that was different. It was fresh, it was new, and it was exciting. And I felt like it was an area of my career that I could actually continue to expand on. It just wasn't like a one shot thing. It just wasn't a wedding reception or, one time gig. It was like I could really kind of expand on this. So yeah.
And I did some just a little bit of research on your website. I think it was
Good.
on your website where it says that you've studied law. Am I correct?
Yeah. 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 Lawyer by trade, I guess. But um, but I really did that really to kind of learn more about the music industry because at the time I really did not have anyone, or I didn't know anybody that was really well versed in the music industry that was like within my immediate circle. Um, and so everybody that I kind of idolized or that I kind of emulated or listened to artist wise, I just always remember them saying, have a good lawyer, my team this, my team that, and the team always included having a good, solid attorney. And so, people talk about their publishing and royalties and all that kind of stuff. So I said, well, even if I don't use it wholeheartedly, I said it might be a good idea for me, maybe just, to find out more about the law. And so, of course, when I start looking into things, it was a little bit kind of convoluted and confusing. So I'm like, okay, we can't go ghetto on this. We can't half step. I've got to go to school. So I had to learn about the law. But in the process of doing that, I learned about all kinds of different laws. And then I also learned about laws that just kind of help people in everyday life, like general, about like speeding tickets and, criminal law and civil law and, just general contract construction. So all those things kind of actually came in handy in real life. So what I ended up doing was just sort of helping people after I got out of school. Some was entertainment law based. I mean, that's kind of more my favorite thing to do, with contracts and helping artists and things kind of learn the ropes a little bit and protected themselves really. But also kind of helped friends and different family members with, hey, my rent is due, but I'm behind, and the landlord is threatening to sue me. What can I do? So drafting eviction letter proposals like, dear Mr. Landlord, please, do not kick me out. I am willing to make an agreement with you, that kind of stuff. So I've never it wasn't really my goal for me to be like an ambulance chaser or be one of the lawyers you see on TV where they're just out there trying to drum up business because I realized during school it's very very time consuming and the fear was that if I kind of pursued the law like 1000% then that would take away from the music stuff so they're very both of them are very heavy what they call heavy mistresses. They say the law is a jealous mistress and I believe that like it just it's very time consuming if you want to do it and do it well. So that part of my life was really beneficial, and it still is today because I'm finding with new laws with the AI stuff, things are changing, and it's just always good to kind of be aware of what your rights are, what you can do, what you shouldn't be doing, how you can handle things, and slowly but surely it's kind of evolved into entrepreneurship like what you're doing with your podcast. What are the things that you can do to kind of protect yourself as a podcaster or entrepreneur, like just different things that are really good for people to know, that they may not necessarily be aware of. And so I have found joy over the years of kind of dropping nuggets and kind of helping in that sense. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of weird, man. It feels like almost like two different identities. The lawyer is like the Clark Kent, and then the musician is like Superman. But
Oh.
it's weird. But yeah, yeah,
So it sounds like you're very busy. You've had a very busy career creatively and also with education.
sure.
What are some challenges that you face in your music career that you have overcome?
Yeah. I think really for me, the changing of the times with the style of music, I think that's kind of been my biggest challenge because even as a writer and even as a performer, you always want to remain current. And I think like over the years, I just sort of got into a semi slump where a lot of the stuff I heard, I just wasn't really inspired by because I just didn't feel like real good music that just kind of moves you. It was either all focused on the beat and not the lyrics, or the lyrics weren't all that inspiring or just felt depressing. So I really had to kind of fight over the years to kind of make sure that if I'm writing stuff and presenting stuff, that it even if it has like an old school flavor, it still sounds somewhat current enough where like the younger generation can enjoy it as well as like the current and the older generation, because for me it's important where I kind of write stuff that kind of has more of a universal appeal for the most part. I'm not one of those artists that like, well, oh, I'm writing and I'm writing from my heart and I'm writing from my soul, and if you don't like it, I never wanted to be that guy, so because I always feel like music is something that should be shared and people should be able to appreciate it and pull from it as much as possible. So when I'm kind of writing, I can always kind of keep that in the back of my mind. Like, is there like maybe a universal message or a theme I can share that might, you know, catch people's ears or maybe capture their heartstrings, you know. So, but definitely the style and change of music for one, and then two, just learning as an independent artist how to maintain your career. I mean, basically, I pretty much am my own self-managed person, so I don't have like a lot of people involved in what I do on the day to day. And while that's a good thing in the sense where I kind of know what's going on. Sometimes the hardest part is just with the marketing, getting stuff out there on time, advertising, letting people know what's going on. And I've learned that I'm not a control freak, but I just like things done a certain way. So I'm a little bit leery, kind of handing over my stuff to just any old body to say, hey, push this, push that, because 9 times out of 10, their perspective and view is a lot different than mine. And if we don't talk about things first and then put stuff out there on my behalf, it just doesn't work. It's like a train wreck. So there's a delicate balance there. And that's also been a struggle too. Like, how much control do you relinquish? How much control do you let go after pretty much doing everything on your own for so long? So, yeah. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah.
Yeah, it shows all the hard work that goes behind the
Yeah.
music. It's not just playing an instrument or just singing. There's a
Uh,
lot that goes behind the scenes
yeah.
to make the magic happen. And
Yeah.
talking about the magic that's happening,
Yeah.
after you made your debut,
Yeah.
what happened after that? Like, what's going on now?
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, two more albums and a couple of EPs and handful of singles were released, which I was excited about. Currently working on a new project, actually a couple of projects now. I have a song called "We Can Forgive" that I released a few years ago. So working on a movie for that with a feature soundtrack with the theme of forgiveness. Currently on tour, which just started last month, and I'm looking forward to performing for the founding member of Earth, Wind, and Fire, his Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band, April 4th at the Canyon Club, and then heading on the East Coast to Augusta, Georgia, back in my hometown to do a show. And then, of course, at the end of the month, April, in Philly on the East Coast again. So a lot of traveling back and forth, a few collaborations in the works. So for a while there, it's a little bit kind of low key, and now things are starting to steamroll again, which I'm happy about because I never like to stay stale or stagnant. I always like to kind of keep the creativity going, basically.
So
So
after this chapter of,
yeah,
right now you're about to start the tour.
yeah.
When that is finished, how do you see yourself creatively evolving?
I would like to. I mean, in addition to releasing more music and performing just in general, I would like to kind of get more involved in television and film, whether it be having my songs in the movies and film. I've had a few before, but they were like in foreign movies, like overseas. But it would be nice to kind of have something stateside for a change. And then maybe television development, film development, maybe something for Netflix, Hulu, that kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of expand. You're still using the music, but putting it in a different outlet, basically. So that's that would be the ideal, I guess. So yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck with your creative journey. I see that you're still going strong. And now for this part of the interview, I'd like to ask some more lighthearted questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So from your music, what are top songs that you would recommend for someone who hasn't heard any of your music?
Excellent question. I would recommend We Can Forgive, Go On, All the Blessings Flow, um, No Ordinary Love, and Focus. My top five. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
outside of your music, who are your top musicians?
Oh man, I'm such a music mutt. And I know a lot of people say that, but I literally truly do love everything. I would probably have to say Stevie Wonder, Mariah Carey, um, Steely Dan, and the Ting Tings, and I would probably add on Lou Rawls. Yeah, my top five. So, yeah.
Okay,
And wait,
now
missing. I'm sorry, missing persons. Yeah. Yeah.
my next question is, what are your top albums of all time?
Just from any artist.
Yeah.
Oh, um, okay. So I would probably have to say Michael Jackson's Thriller. I would have to say um, Mariah Carey, The Emancipation of Mimi, Expose, Exposure. Um, okay, that's three, four. Oh man, probably Stevie Wonder's Master Blaster, I think. And then five, struggling here. Probably Bublé's debut album. I would probably have to say, yeah, as a vocalist, yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
If you could
yeah.
perform at any venue that you haven't performed at, is there a place where you would choose?
Hollywood Bowl, hands down. Hollywood Bowl, yeah,
Wow, you
yeah,
didn't you
for
didn't
sure.
hesitate.
I hesitate. Yeah, that's like a dream come true. Yeah, Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, so, for
If
sure.
you could, because you earlier you mentioned that you've also done collaborations, you work with others. If there is an artist out there whom you could collaborate with, living or not, who would you collaborate with?
I would love to collaborate with Bruno Mars. I think he's really, really classy and creative, and he just has a great way of blending old school with the current flavor, and a way of kind of keeping things fresh. Love his vocals. I love the lyrics. Love his songwriting capabilities. So yeah, definitely Bruno Mars for sure.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all about your love for creativity, for your music, also your musical background. Now I'm going to ask you the question that I ask all of my guests, and that
Yeah.
is, why is creativity important for you?
Wow, creativity is important for me because it's like air. Without it, I can't breathe. And what I mean by that is it's necessary for me to express myself, whether it be performing, whether it be songwriting, whether it be creating something musical or even dramatic. It's just a necessary part because I feel like without it, for me personally, I don't feel like I'm really living. It's almost like I'm kind of dead to the world. So um, definitely a must. Definitely have to do it, or else I pretty much die. I know that sounds kind of lame, but yeah,
I,
that's the
lo-
truth.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your love for music. Where can people in the audience check out your songs and your albums?
Yeah, sure. So, first on my website, www.Kenneith, Kenneith, Perrin, Perrin.com. My website, and then of course, Spotify, same name, Apple Music, same name, Deezer, Tidal, on all the regular YouTube, all the regular digital music online platforms. And then there's also a site called um, Linktree, linkree.com// my first and last name. That kind of has a list of all my socials there in one spot as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your creative journey and your websites, also where we can find your music. To those in the audience, don't forget to check out his music. Go give him a follow, support his music. And also, if you would like, please support this channel by subscribing, leaving a comment, and sharing this episode so that more people can discover the awesome music by Kenneith Perrin. And if you would like to help me out a little bit more, you can do so by supporting me and buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/truth that h7. Your contributions help me to keep this podcast going. And to my friend Kenneith, thank you so much for being an awesome guest here on Creativity Worth Expressing.
My pleasure. Thank you.